Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. Today, today, well, we're recording this on the 30th of October. It'll be released in November, but we're closing
Still
off.
counts as Halloween.
Yeah. When we record is what matters. But yeah, to close off Halloween month, Spooktober, as it were, we're talking about a Japanese horror film called Cure, a movie that I've heard many good things about before we watched. So I was very curious because everyone said it was like a masterpiece. So yeah, it's an interesting movie. Evan, it was your recommendation. What did you think
It
of Cure?
was. This is one of those I've done that a couple of times, the whole just, recommending something that I haven't seen and you haven't seen. So I did not know what I was going in for. There I'd seen one shot. And by the way, so full spoilers, I'd recommend we always signpost this, but like I really would recommend watching this movie blind. All I knew was that this was a mystery surrounding seemingly unmotivated murders. There's murders that are connected, but no one knows why they're happening, and that's the story. It's that's all you really need to know about the movie. Um, the shot that I had seen before was the bathroom with that shit was pretty fucking eerie with the face being peeled off. Like, yeah, it's grotesque, but what I love about this movie is that there's no jump scares at all.
Oh yeah.
There's never any cheap outs or anything like that. All of the horror in the movie is built around eeriness, like and tone, and certain things that happen, like with how hypnotism or seemingly hypnotism is depicted in the movie. The scene with the rain and it dripping through the cell is really interesting because there's definitely some kind of supernatural edge in this movie, even though it's so subtle that maybe it isn't even there, you know? Maybe crazy things just happen, or maybe the explanation's a little bit more simple. What I liked about the movie was that it never went cheap with the scares or any of the freaky things that they depict in the movie, but it's it didn't quite scare me. That's probably, like, my big takeaway.
Mm.
I wasn't quite it's one of those things, does a horror movie need to scare you? I'm like, "I don't know, but I like it when they do." And oftentimes, if I watch a horror movie and it's not scary, it's like, it's a little hard to call it successful, but there's a lot of interesting things going on in this movie, and I'm curious to read more into it.
Yeah, I read an explanation as like this. It was literally I googled like Cure 1997 explained, and I clicked on the first result, which is a Reddit thread. And it was interesting because it explained a lot of the things that I think I just like didn't pick up on in the movie. Not to say that his
Big
that person's theories are like gospel,
well,
but
the thing that I found, if you like, just if like, because I finished the movie, like I said, I literally just watched it now, so I haven't read anything.
mm,
But the biggest connection that stood out to me was the main character's wife. She seems to be connected to the killer, or like the person with the lighter, and that is there's a memory lapse with him. He seems to have short-term memory, can't remember anything. He always asks questions, and his wife has memory issues. And then there's also she keeps seemingly turning on the washing machine, and she like forgets to cook the steak. There's I I feel like thematically those two are supposed to be connected. The frustration, I mean, that's even talked about in dialogue scenes. So
yeah,
I feel like that's what the movie is meant to round out to, but
yeah,
what
yeah.
what did
I'll
you read
send you
into?
the theory. I'm not gonna like explain the whole thing, because it's long and it requires the like
I'm
going
sure
into the
things
plot.
tie together. There's a lot of
Yeah,
things that seem random in this
yeah,
movie that I'm sure are very purposeful.
yeah. And it's, I don't know, it was interesting because I hadn't really fully gotten the film before I read it. Now I have a better understanding. I'm just, I don't know. I think I'm a little underwhelmed. Um, like it didn't wow me. I thought it was fine, and and like you said, like there are creepy things like the face being peeled off or everything, but like I didn't feel like unsettled because like that kind of shit, I appreciate a good visual effect. I was watching fucking Hellboy last night. The Del Toro one. And I was like, dude, I fucking love this. All of this looks fucking cool as hell. Or fucking, like I watched Friday the 13th this week as well. The original one. It's like there's a lot of really cool like special effects. Um but like it didn't do anything for me like I don't know.
To
Like
stand out from the crowd
yeah,
or
yeah,
what?
it didn't feel unsettling. It just felt like, yeah, it's another like horror film. Like I don't know, maybe it was because I didn't like fully get what the story was going for, and maybe on a rewatch I'd appreciate it more. But it just felt like, I don't know. Like, okay, yeah,
Well,
we're having
vibe
this guy the doesn't have memories, and he's like hypnotizing people, and the whole hypnosis thing is a trope that I'm not a huge fan of in movies that treat hypnosis as this like, whoa, you can control everyone or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's a
they
me thing.
note that, which I like, is like that, you can't because you can't. That's why they call it hypnotic suggestion. It's not mind control. It's
Yeah.
suggestions that can
And they do,
influence
they do
people.
say
And
like, oh, you would need like to implant a suggestion like years before, and like it'd take a long time. And so it's like it's not like that fucking awful Ben Affleck film Hypnotic. Like there is a point to it. Um, just I don't know. It's I don't know. It didn't wow me. I thought it was fine, and maybe on a rewatch I'll appreciate it more knowing what it is going for. Maybe I didn't give it a fair chance. Didn't engage with it properly. I don't know. Um,
the vibe I got the most of was Seven, honestly, because
mhm,
the X-shaped murders. That's the whole idea in the movie, is like an X pattern after a seemingly inexplicable murder, and the detectives in the story are basically picking up the pieces similarly to the main characters in Seven. So that kind of that reminded me.
mhm.
It reminded me a decent bit of that movie,
I've
but
seen a lot of people
there's
comparing it to Fincher, which is interesting. I
yeah,
definitely think I agree.
one of it is the funny thing because it's little bits that work really well. Like I was mentioning the bathroom. Another scene was when he gets home and finds that his wife has hung herself, and then it's just a normal day. And it's like that his reaction was so spot on.
Yeah,
Just that all the phases at once, and he like can't even utter anything. There's nothing, no sound comes out. That shit was kind of spooky. It's and
yeah. That was a shot
there's
that actually got me. I was like, oh shit! It was like, oh my god, she killed herself, and it was just like losing it, and then he just cuts, and she's fine. It was like, wait.
yeah, there's like some hallucinations in this film that make you question what's real and what isn't, and
Mhm.
it ties into the hypnotism. And what I love about this movie, I think what maybe a frustration for me is that I wish Mamiya, is that the guy's name who's
Yeah, I think
the
so. Yeah,
hypnotist? He I wish he was more of a character, because obviously the whole thing is he doesn't remember
yeah.
anything and he keeps asking people questions,
Yeah,
and you
part
get
of
little
the
hints
thing
that
is that he isn't, that he doesn't remember who he is. So I kind of get it.
yeah. But those 2, when they're in a room and it's just dialogue between them, I do think it's solid and
Yeah,
interesting. I That dynamic
yeah. Well,
is
there was that
probably the
scene that was
coolest
like a
part.
huge wonder of the two just talking, and like he keeps asking questions to what's his name, Tabake, the main character.
Let me yeah, Taba Takabe, I believe. Yeah,
Takabe. Yeah, sorry. So
yeah.
it's very
Is that
interesting. Like a lot of like their dialogue was really fucking amazing. I kind of wish the movie was more of that, I guess.
well, low key, I'm watching that one that you mentioned. That might be my favorite scene in the movie.
It's mine
I
for
love.
sure. Yeah.
I need to get the. I watched this on digital. I swear to God. You know, you know how in dark scenes, like, things get super pixelated because
Yeah.
of limitations on the
Low
streaming
bit
but
rate,
that
yeah.
doesn't happen if you have it yeah, I the ceiling, I'm pretty sure you can see, like, the sky, like, going through, like, I didn't fully appreciate that effect just because of the platform I was watching it from, but the rain seeping through and putting out the lighter, that shit was Kino.
That
I
was an
loved
awesome
everything
shot,
about
yeah.
that. Yeah. I it's just one of those things where that's the whole idea is that he doesn't remember, maybe, but you get these little lines of dialogue that seem off. I just wish there was more of a dynamic. And it's like, did it need to be Silence of the Lambs? No, but I it's hard for there to be a connection between them because they just he doesn't remember and things go in circles, which
Yeah.
frustrates the main character and,
Yeah, part of the
you
point is
know
that the story is frustrating, that it goes in circles. They already know what happened, but they can't like they already know most of what happened, but they can't put the pieces together exactly perfectly, and that's what's frustrating. And as well for the audience, because like the guy who did all of it, it's just we can't get any read on him whether he did it or find he's guilty or not because he can't remember anything. So it's like it's frustrating. It's part of the point. Part of how like he's using that to like dodge, I guess, accountability, which I think is part of like the point they're making in terms of like I don't know. I don't really know what point the movie's making. I understand what the story was going for in terms of like what each thing meant in universe. I don't really know what the movie was doing. I don't know.
well, yeah, this is why I wanna read it hell, like, it's the problem with watching the movie and then jumping right into the podcast. I really want to look into what people have read into it and interpreted
Hmm.
from it, because just that one scene that we mentioned, fire and water, like the rain putting out the lighter,
Hmm.
fire like, he hypnotizes the aspiring surgeon. That was another standout scene. I loved that moment. He says, like, "You wanted to cut them up," and she's the one who peels the face, like,
Yeah.
oh. But he uses a glass of water to hypnotize her, so it's not just the lighter, and I'm guessing fire and water
Yeah,
has some
there's
symbolic
many things
meaning.
that he uses to hypnotize people. Like when he fucking he's banging like the table on the radiator to use vibrations to hypnotize a detective to let him go, which is just like I did not know what
That
that
was some
was.
Hannibal Lecter shit, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's a better movie than I'm giving it credit for. I just need to rewatch it, knowing what I know now, and maybe giving it a fair shot. There's some movies
Yeah,
because usually I'm like, oh, you should go into movies blind, and I love going into movies blind. It's like genuinely, I fucking
same.
love that. It's like not knowing anything, not having seen like a single trailer, not knowing the synopsis, anything. Just like this movie's good, watch it. That's like my ideal way of watching films. But I don't think this is necessarily true for this film. I think this is a film you might want to know a little bit about the hypnosis side of things and how like
Well,
trying to
I'm
tie
trying
it
to
together because I don't know.
what's oh, you know what this actually does remind me a little bit of is, like, Shutter Island. It's
Mm,
one there are some movies where you watch it the first time and you're like, "Oh, yeah," like, you appreciate it. I suppose the reveal at the end have you seen Shutter
I
Island?
have, I have.
It's a great movie. The ending, though, like, kinda ties things together and explains things more, but it's there are some movies where you watch it the first time, you're like, "Yeah, that was pretty good," and then you go back maybe and to get like you mentioned out maybe after reading things, but going back, you're like, "Oh," like,
Yeah.
you see things completely different. I wonder if this is one of those where it will
Yeah.
reward rewatching and seeing things that you may not have appreciated on the first go.
I loved Mike Flanagan's review of this film actually. I was reading reviews after I finished watching. Let me find it real quick.
What did he say?
I'll read it for you.
I love that he has a letterbox. He
Yeah.
fucking being shit on that thing. It's amazing.
Kate and I watched this to knock off her Kate's never seen it list. I find this movie to be very tense and arresting, if not elusive. A
Yeah.
palpable sense of
Yeah,
dread permeates every frame. Kiyoshi
that's
Kur-
definitely the best way to describe it, tense. It's not
yeah,
necessarily a horror film, like, there's a sense of, like, ugh, like,
yeah.
yeah.
Kiyoshi Kurosawa is a true talent, and I've always found his work fascinating, even when it is difficult to understand. The always excellent Yakusho, delivers an unhinged, explosive performance as a detective trying to solve a series of identical murders perpetrated by bewildered strangers. Each of them seems to have encountered a strange man played by Masato Hagiwara. What follows is an increasingly unreliable narrative that deals with hypnosis, ghosts, and a viral psychosis that seems to spread outward from one enigmatic individual. I've seen this half a dozen times in my life, and each time have felt like it was me who was hypnotized. There are profound ideas in here and moments of absolutely arresting tension, but they seem to run through your hands like water. I often I often come out of this a bit dazed, feeling it fading like a half-remembered dream, but I always come back. There's something truly haunting about it. Kate's reaction, quote, very good, giggles. Not earth-shadowing, but I learned a lot about things. I don't know. But yeah,
Oh
I
my
really
god, that's
like that
such an amazing.
review. I love what he says about like the movie running through your hands like water, because that is what it feels like. Like I feel like the movie's hinting at a lot of things, but nothing that you can grasp onto like too definitively, because it's just it's like you said, it feels like a dream. That's what the movie feels like, and it's part of it. It's
Yeah.
the whole like hypnosis and not knowing what's real and what's not. It's interesting.
Well, and on the tension thing, I don't it's when you watch a horror movie, because what I would also compare this movie to, like, less favorably is Long Legs.
Mm,
Long Legs is another detective hunting down the killer movie, but that movie, mainly because of the opening scene, in my opinion, but there's a lot of horror movies that you watch and you're anticipating the jump scare throughout the entire thing. It's not necessarily tense, it's like, "When's the jump scare gonna
yeah.
happen?" Like,
Yeah,
this movie,
I've been watching the Conjuring films. I think I finished watching all of them recently, and I could always tell when a jump scare was about to happen. It was so funny calling it. It's like, oh, jump scare.
well well, jump scares are such a fucking necessary evil, and I wish they weren't as popular. I always laugh. What I think that jump scares are more effective at is actually comedy. And if you want
Yeah,
proof, watch
definitely.
Hot Fuzz. There are jump scares that are funny as hell in
Yeah,
that movie. It's because it is one of those things. It's just an instant rush and release, but this movie doesn't let you off the hook like that, and instead they just have a sense of something impending
yeah.
or something off in individual
It feels
scenes, and
like you're like asleep while you're submerged in water, and you don't know that you're about to die, and you like that kind of tension. You know what I mean? This is very
yeah.
specific, but you know what I mean. Like there's something building and there's something off, but you can't really tell because you're dreaming. So it's just like something
Well
looming in the background.
low key, the way that you're I think one of the reasons why that may be, I'm just, like, scrolling through and looking at the movie on a macro level, there's a lot of distance between the
Yeah,
characters if you look at the movie in general. It's like you're just someone spying on them, like,
yeah. Like the way the
you just
camera
happen to
is,
be in
like
the
the camera
room.
isn't close to any of the characters at any point. It's always like a wide shot, like just sitting around and watching them walk around. Like I don't remember a single like close up. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, weird,
they're very
wild.
sparing with the more intimate and
Yeah,
close-up shots or even just insert shots. It's usually lengthy oneers that
Yeah.
are just the camera's just
Which
there.
feels so like 50s, you know, to have like the just the camera sitting
Yeah.
there and the characters acting and walking around the room. It's like, oh yes, blocking. I remember what that is. Uh,
So, yeah, the ending as well. This is something I was mentioning the detective horror and like the unsolved mystery, but I
mm,
figured that that was coming, that he was going to kill him, and again with me needing to read into this, I'm not exactly sure what the point, because he shoots him and then he says, "Do you remember now?"
mm.
And I'm like, that this it can't just be like a spiteful ending. There has to be something in there,
Yeah,
and
it
it
seems
wasn't
like
just
the reading from the thread I sent you is that he kills him and then he takes over his place as becoming the vessel for this
yes,
like evil entity. Yeah.
yeah. I I was the Ring is another example of a movie that was Japanese, that was like this movie apparently kind of sparked a new Japanese horror wave. And in Japanese horror, it's usually there's like slashers and there's super like a ghost. Usually the ghosts kill you in like Western horror movies, but in Japanese, it's usually possession based, and it's also usually something because like the hypnotism, it like tied into like the mental institute, right? That's like, isn't that like the building that they're in, the condemned building?
I think so, yeah.
Or yeah, there's something that they're saying there with like the original hypnotism, and there's like this spirit that takes over people and will just cause people to kill. And yeah, that seems to be what they're doing, especially at the ending with the person in the diner who's serving coffee, and then the last shot is her picking up a knife. And there's another shot, I swear, um, it's the steak scene. So this shit was crazy. And this is where I'm like, maybe I'm not reading into this, but he gets home and then he sees the meal seemingly prepared and then realizes the steak is raw. And it's like there's something wrong with his wife. And and then she goes out and turns on the washing machine. And that was something that was there earlier. The washing machine was on and there was nothing in it. And that's what it is. She just turns it on automatically and then goes back. And then he turns it off and slaps the steak. And then you see this distinct shot of him picking up a knife after she goes to sleep. And then from there, seemingly he drops her off at like at the institution where she was, and talked to the doctor. And I remember looking at that shot, I was like, wait a minute. So it's like, is that him going to kill her, or is that him taking away all the knives in the house, getting rid of all the sharp objects? And I, because he distinctly grabs a knife and then they cut, and I was like, what was the point of that shot? What are they saying there? And with the dream thing, 'cause that's right at the end of the 3rd act when he lets him go, and that scene really got me thinking.
Mm.
It's weird what they may be trying to say. Yeah, I don't know. This is what, like, I wasn't quite scared by this movie for sure, but it was still really engaging and interesting. It was just was hoping for that little bit of pizzazz, but the movie's really, really subtle, perhaps to a fault, maybe just maybe, but maybe it'll be better on rewatch if you know a little bit more about what specifically they're trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's probably like very much the case. It is. I think it might be just a little too understated. Maybe just that's the way my Western brain thinks. Maybe Japanese horror films are just like. I mean, I've seen The Ring, and that movie also frustrated me. The Japanese one, I've actually not seen the American
Oh,
one.
that you saw the remake, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's
I
funny.
never saw the
Last
remake.
time
I
I
only saw
watched
the
it,
original, and I was like, I did not get the hype, but it was like I think for similar reasons to this, we're just like it's just not what I was expecting. Maybe it's just The way Japanese horror
Well,
is very different. I don't know.
yeah, the Western, I've seen both. The Western movie and the Japanese movie are different, but and they have different endings. But I when I watched it with my brother, he compared it to Nancy Drew. It's like it's basically a detective story. I've always
Yeah,
loved describing that as someone is trying to solve their murder before it happens. Basically, they have a week, and
yeah,
it's a cool race against time idea. But it Japanese horror apparently just has a different vibe, a different style because like I mentioned, like spirits are different in Japanese culture, and I think like possession stories like this, maybe they just have different execution in part because of it. So
yeah,
I yeah, I would recommend this movie for sure, but it did not wow me. At least just from that first watch, I'm mixed on it, but it's one of those things where I'm sure reading into it and rewatching it, and I feel like going back to this. I will definitely rewatch this soon because it was very interesting, and there's something that they're trying to say. It's just moment to moment, it was not quite what I was hoping for. I was hoping for something a little bit more engaging scene for scene
yeah,
when it's it's frustratingly subdued and restrained. So,
yeah. It's
would
not what I was expecting. That's the way I would describe it for sure.
would you recommend it?
I think so. That's the inflection. That sounds. I
We
don't
really
know.
should have done our fucking homework before. We should have like, read everything and figured it out. Like, oh,
I don't know.
rewatch it.
I think I would recommend it. It's interesting to say the least. I think it's the kind of thing where it's worth watching. Um, just for the experience, the whole vibe is very unique, and expanding your horizons a bit if you're not used to watching Japanese horror. Because yeah, I don't know. Would you recommend it?
I would. Like I said, there is something interesting in it. Pacing and tone wise, it wasn't quite for me. At least on
Yeah,
this watch, but I it is a very fascinating concept, and it's shot really well, and there is something unique to take away. It's just a matter of me like I said, wanting to do my homework. I want to read into this and see what other people have said and what they're trying to convey
yeah,
because it's a bit confusing.
yeah. Who knows? Maybe in the future we can even like reassess movies that we've already covered, and this will be one of them because it definitely feels like a movie worth rewatching in a couple months/years of just like thinking about it more.
I mean, legitimately, Flanagan there saying that he watched it half a dozen times, carrying us if you reading the review out. But that, yeah, it definitely feels like a movie that warrants rewatch. So,
Yeah, for sure. All
all
right.
right,
Oh
Sky,
yeah,
you've
my turn to
got a
recommend
recommend.
something. Okay, okay. So I forgot to open the list. Hold on, give me a sec. I forgot to open my. Here we go. Letterboxd. Um. Oh, I should remove Deborah Logan. Okay. November. I think. I think I'm going to recommend. Um. You know what? Sure. I'm going to recommend Gemini Man from Ang Lee.
Oh, shit. Oh, why?
I have a friend
What?
who vouches for this movie and says it's great. I've never seen it. I am
Uh,
curious. I am
well, it's
curious.
funny. I mean, Will Smith for one, for two. Was that before the slap? Or I
It
think it
was
was
before. It was
just
way
before.
before. It was 2019. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the what always turned me off from it was the motion capture for was just the you know main character and supporting character, but also the weird frame rate bullshit. I've
Yeah,
heard
it's
there's a
at
version that's
120
normal,
FPS. Yeah.
but I I mean, hell, it could be even a thing to say, but I've always said that. I'm like, why aren't movies 120 or 60 FPS? I'm like, the answer is because 24 frames per second is the film look.
Yeah.
Who said? It's just it's always been that way, and
Yeah, and if you
it's
change it, it
uncomfortable to
will
watch it, like
feel cheaper. It just inherently
yeah,
feels
and
cheaper. It feels like a soap opera.
it's funny how that works, though. It's like, isn't it technically higher quality film? I'm like, that's not what it's about, you know? We've just gotten so used to 24 frames per second. So any movie, The Hobbit did that. There's movies that have tried to like add a new frame rate or like make a new wave, and none of them have worked. But yeah, I I, I don't know. I just never bothered because of those two factors. I never really cared to watch it, but
Yeah. The 120 FPS gimmick was something that made me want to watch it back when it came out, but I never did. And everyone said it was shit. But I have this one friend who vouches for this movie. So, who
well,
knows?
well, Ang Lee is interesting. You know, he did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but he also did the original Hulk, and he's very on and off as a filmmaker. Sometimes he makes a movie that's amazing, and sometimes he makes really weird, out there films. So you never quite know.
Hmm. So,
All right,
yeah.
not what I was expecting you to recommend, but let's go,
That
Gemini
wasn't the
Man.
one I was gonna go with, but I was like, you know what? Sure, it's on my list. Why the hell not? So yeah, Gemini Man for next week, folks. um, yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Um, yeah. Thanks. We'll see you next week for Ang Lee's Gemini Man.
Yes, indeed.
Bye
Thanks for
bye.
watching. Happy Halloween.
Yeah. Bye bye.